What's up, guys? Intellitech Mobile here, and today we've got my newest acquisition. I bought this from the shop that I work at because I work at a resale shop, and people try to bring in laptops even though we frankly have way too many. And I will point to the shelf next to me that has like a bajillion laptops, and people still try to bring in laptops. But in this case, someone brought in a laptop a day that I wasn't there and bought it because one of the other employees ended up buying it. Primarily because we don't have very many touchscreen laptops. This is a Lenovo ThinkPad Twist, which, if you've known me, although it's probably not very obvious on this channel yet, but ThinkPads are my favorite machine, just in general. And this particular machine is quite interesting because you see that logo right there. That's the Windows 8 and 10 logo. And if we flip this machine over, we can see the copyright date. Come on. I think one thing I'll comment on real quick is that it has this terrible rubberized surface, which I know over time will eventually get nasty and gross. But copyright 2012 Lenovo. And next to it we have a sticker that says Pro Windows 8. 2012. Not 2013, not 2014. So this is 2012. This is a launch device for Windows 8 Pro. Which means if I want to reinstall Windows on this, and I don't want to install Windows 10 or 11, I want to install what it originally came with, that means my only option is Windows 8 Pro. So, only problem is this machine doesn't have an optical drive. I could make a USB flash drive, but I don't feel like it. So we're going to reinstall Windows on this using this, which I bought from the same store back when I didn't work at it and was at a different location for a whopping, well, it says $30, but I think I got it for either 20 or 25, I presume. I assume 20 because even back then the owner of the store gave me pretty good discounts. So brand new Asus external slim DVD RW drive, bundled with CyberLink Power2Go V6, and it's compatible with Windows 7. It's USB 2.0, which this machine has USB 3.0 ports, and supports 8x DVD plus and minus R with no adapter included. I pulled this out of my closet, which it had sat there for a couple years, so it was covered in a thick layer of dust, because I didn't really need it. But now I finally have a machine that's new enough to require Windows 8, but also doesn't have an optical drive. So I can't put this disc in, or any of the other discs, which I'll be honest, I don't even know what this disc looks like. I also have a burned copy as well, but it's still a legit copy. It's not one that's pirated or anything. So that is an option. I'll use whichever disc is less scratched. So we're going to have to, the first thing we're also going to do is check the machine out in its current state and see what all is on it. Now I let this charge for a couple hours prior to me getting this home, or to me doing this video, because of course it was dead. So power button is right here on this edge right here. It popped up ThinkPad for like half a second and then goes away. And we can see it's not booting up in UEFI mode for some reason, so we're going to have to reinstall Windows either way because it's in the wrong mode. I guess you don't technically have to per se, but you might as well, at least, if you're going to go through all the effort. So, yeah, and the user account is Landslide for some reason. I'm not sure why it's called that, but it's, I presume they haven't even had a chance to wipe this yet because they had just gotten this in and kind of stuck it on a shelf and hadn't got to it yet. And usually I'm the one who goes through the laptops and reinstalls Windows on them anyways, so I figured, you know, if I'm going to reinstall it anyways, then if I'm buying it, then who cares? I'll just do it myself, because I'm going to put a different OS than Windows 10 or 11 on here anyways, because obviously all the machines we sell now, we put Windows 11 on them, of course, unless a customer specifically requests something different. But whoever had this last had a DVD Fab 64-bit installed, and I'm not going to show you, but there are a couple of pirated movies on here, which will not be surviving reinstallation. So, not that I have anything against piracy, but, you know, it's the only movie I really care about is it has All Dogs Go to Heaven 2, and then Lion King. So I might save those, who knows. But It doesn't really matter. We're not touching this hard drive anyways, because what we are going to do is install an SSD in here. So if we go to disk management, which which of course this is a touchscreen, so I can. Oh, Windows 10 is really not appropriate for a touchscreen. So we'll go to disk management. Because if I go open up Task Manager, it shows an SSD that's in here that's about 24 gigabytes, which, according to this, is unallocated. I'm not sure what the deal with that is. So we've got an unallocated drive that's about 22 usable gigabytes. And then we also have a 1 terabyte hard drive in here, which is right up beside this panel right here. I don't know why you would want to have a spinning mechanical hard drive in a device you're going to be flipping around and all that. And I don't need very much local storage on this anyways. So I will be putting an SSD in here while we're going through all this effort. Now, if you're wondering about the current specs before we go down this rabbit hole, if we go to Task Manager, we can see that we indeed have. So right now we have 4 gigs of DDR3 RAM, nothing too crazy. We have an Intel Core i5 3227U, which makes sense because a lot of the launch Windows 8 devices are not quite going to be Haswell just yet. They're going to be Ivy Bridge. So this is an Ivy Bridge i3 mobile CPU at 1.9 gigahertz. It does have virtualization support, and it is a dual-core processor with the hyper-threading, so it's essentially 4 logical cores. So, and this thing apparently has 50 hours and... What is that? Wait, is that 50 days, 10 hours, 22 minutes, and 35 seconds? That seems abnormally high. I almost wonder if this machine was never actually shut down properly, which, all things considered, it's running reasonably well. I haven't looked yet to see if I can upgrade this to 8 gigabytes. I really hope I can, because 4 gigs is a little squirrely these days, but that is the exact same amount of specs as the Surface Pro, and I'll touch on that in a sec. So we also have our 1 terabyte hard drive, and our SSD, which is not in use at all because it's not formatted within Windows for some reason. So I'm not sure why that's in here, but we are going to, it doesn't matter, we're going to nuke all this anyways. So we're going to go ahead and shut this down. Of course, there is the touchscreen, but I'll demonstrate that a bit more on Windows 8. Of course, if I wanted to keep this on Windows 10, you can, of course, set up a tablet mode and all that stuff. So it's not exactly unusable with Windows 10, but for me, I prefer original, or just Windows 8 in general, if we're going to be talking about a touchscreen. And I have plenty of devices that use Windows 10, so it's not exactly like, I'm not the type of person who wants the same version of Windows on everything. I want everything to have different versions of Windows, because I like Windows. Windows is interesting to me, and I like to have different versions and use them on a regular basis. Especially because Supermium, which still supports Windows XP and Vista, let alone 7 and 8, is still a good option for a modern web browser, even on Windows 8 RTM. So we've already shut this down, and I'm going to, God, I hate these scratches. So what I'm going to have to do is pop out, I assume the hard drive's back here. I've never seen a teardown of this just yet, but I'm going to assume that there's a hard drive behind this door, as this looks very similar to what is on my T500. And it looks like we can access other screws to get access to what I assume is the keyboard, or I assume is the RAM, the keyboard, and the trackpad. I believe that's what that means. So I theoretically should be able to upgrade the RAM as well, down the road at least. I don't have any DDR3 DIMMs on hand, but there might be some at my work, so I could probably get some. And so I'm going to try opening this up and seeing if we can pop in an SSD. Hopefully we can. So I pulled off this cover, and we do in fact have a pull tab, very reminiscent of my old ThinkPad. Alright. WD Blue, 1 terabyte. WD usually makes pretty solid hard drives. Not bad. So it looks like I'm going to pop this out and put in an SSD. I guess the question is, should we do this white one, which says high performance, but doesn't have... So this, okay, this one's a SK Hynix drive. Or I've got this light on SSD. Both of these are 128 gigs, which for this machine is plenty. So I think I'm going to go with the light on one just this time, because it kind of fits the aesthetic to me at least. So we'll try that. We'll transfer the cage with the 4 screws, and we'll be good to go. Alright, so the SSD is installed. Kind of another reason why I think it's important to put an SSD if you have one of these things, is the the buffer, there's only like there's kind of like a rubber gasket on this side. You can kind of feel the resistance as you push it in, but there's nothing on this side. It's just the plastic bezel. So again, my old T500 had like little rubber grips that the drive caddy slipped into to at least help with a little bit of shock absorption, should, you know, anything get bumped around. This, despite it obviously being even more of a mobile device as it's smaller and, you know, has a touchscreen, like, you're obviously designed to flip the thing around, and you're not really supposed to operate drives at different orientations. Although it's not as big of a deal nowadays. It's still potentially an issue. So, yeah, that's another reason to install an SSD in here. But of course, now in order to install Windows, we have to, at least if we want to use a DVD, we're going to have to use my external DVD drive. Or this one, I should say, not necessarily mine, just any of them. So we're going to unbox this real quick and set this up. I think there's a little thing right here. It mentions having drivers for Windows 7, so let's hope that it has, you know, that it works on the pre-installation environment for Windows 8. Why does an external DVD drive have a disk? I mean, how are you supposed to install this if the drive isn't working yet? I don't know. Maybe it's just to add features and functionality and whatnot, and I assume there's a power. This is actually brand new too, so that's nice. And it looks like there's a cable in here, but I assume I can probably just use one that I already have if I don't want to unwrap that, which I really don't, because I plan on keeping the box for this, so I have it put up in a spot anytime I need to use it, because it's not going to be very often that I need to use this, since most of my machines I put optical drives in if I can, which, you know, because I prefer to have optical drives. So let's see what we've got here. Very nice and slim. Okay. This actually is brand new. Wow. Peel off the drive's thin protective film before using it. Okay, I do like how that didn't leave any residue, so it looks like I'll be able to reseal this after I'm done. I'll set this down for a sec as we pull the drive out. Nice. Very pretty. So it just operates with a mini USB cable. And yeah, quite nice. Very stylish. Got a nice white finish on it. It does have a protective plastic layer, which I will not peel off because this will show scratches very easy. So I'm going to find a USB mini B cable, which I'm sure I have one. I might just steal one from my PS3 and plug that in. So I already had a USB cable that I had from my Blue Yeti mic, and it's pretty long, so I just pulled it out of my desktop and plugged it in here, and then plugged it in over here. So we're going to see if I remember what the combination was to get into the BIOS on one of these. I'm not sure if I remember. Is it F1? Maybe it's F1? I think I just missed it. Okay. Oh, maybe not. Okay. Okay, well, it showed me that screen. Hey, there we go. Don't have arrow keys. There it goes. SSD. It's actually lagging, which is strange. Do I have the option to... That's so weird how the selection is lagging. I don't see any option to... Yeah, I don't know why that's lagging. That's so strange. I'm trying to see if there's an option to go to the BIOS. Which I'm not sure which button on here is the BIOS. I think it might be F12, I believe. So I might have to escape and then hit F12. That's also the boot manager. There's got to be some way to boot into the BIOS on this thing. I know sometimes some ThinkPads have their own dedicated BIOS button. This one doesn't appear to. So I'm sure that I gotta do this strangely, or carefully. So, okay, let's escape, and then we'll go to F10. I think F10 or F11 might be it. I'll just spam both of them. If this doesn't work, I'll just look it up. Yeah, that's not it either. So I think if I try to boot directly from either of these drives, it's not going to work. Again, that's so weird how that lags. Let me check real quick. For some reason, the drive is ticking like a clock and won't open. Can we get you to open? I have to plug this into my actual desktop to get it to boot up, but I did get it into the BIOS, so we'll go ahead and reset the BIOS and see if we can get this working. Alright, so I finally got the drive open, so we'll pop in that. Of course, we're going to do 64-bit, since eventually I'm going to upgrade this to 8 gigs. We're going to go ahead and save changes. Again, why do the arrow keys lag? That's so weird. Exit saving changes. Yes. And then I believe F12 changes boot. So we're going to tap that. Configuration changed. Restart the system. Is it saying it will restart the system, or is it asking me to restart the system? Is it asking me to do it? Strange. Did it not turn on? There it goes. Light on. Application menu. Oh, tab. So it is menu. Application menu. I hit the tab. There it goes. Okay. Am I not able to boot from the... Why is this just beeping like this? Come on. It's like the third time I've had to unplug it and plug it back in. Why is it just beeping? It sounds like an old school clock. And it won't open. Am I even able to do this now? Went through all this effort only to find out my literally brand new drive doesn't work? I can't even get it to show anything other than the actual drives themselves. Is it going to switch over ever? Tab. Oh my goodness. So slow. I assume it's not going to let me boot directly from an SSD. Maybe this DVD drive is only BIOS and I have to use UEFI. Which, if that's the case, then I might actually have to burn this onto a flash drive and do it a different way. I wanted to be, proper and use the original disc, but it seems like it's not going to let me. In fact, oh, there it goes. Jeez. I wasn't even sure it was going to let go of it. Isn't that a pretty disc, though? Nice and blue. Which I think blue was the codename for Windows 8, so I guess that makes sense. So unfortunately, that's a no to the original. Ooh, that's a pretty disc. It's got the holographic edges to show you it's legit. But yeah, it seems like we're going to have to do this a different way because it's clearly not wanting to work. So I think this drive is just bad, or for whatever reason it just won't detect it in the BIOS. Again, I've never done this before with an external USB drive, so maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe it just doesn't work that way. I don't know. But either way, so I'm currently using Rufus to format what was a Windows 10 ISO and turning it into a Windows 8 Pro ISO, which is what we need for this. Which, to be fair, running that on an SSD, installing it that way will be relatively quick, which is good because we're already 21 minutes into this and we still haven't installed a damn operating system. So hopefully this was somewhat entertaining, but we can see it populating some stuff down there, so that's good. That's a good sign, at least, that we're making some kind of progress. Go Rufus. Wow, my monitor is dusty. Ooh, okay, so it appears like it's done. Also, I think I discovered why this wasn't working. It turns out that oh so important USB cable that I neglected, it's a Y adapter. It actually has 2 USB ports on it, which explains why it wasn't powering up all the way and why it was struggling to open, because there wasn't enough power. So had I used the actual cable it came with, maybe it would have behaved properly. But we already went through the effort of making it on a USB, so by golly, that's what I'm going to use. I mean, it's faster anyways, and given that we've already been going for 22 minutes, that's the Ethernet port, not a USB, oops, we are going to get this over with. Unplug in. Alright. Question is it still shows it in the list, so, oh, okay, so we got a bit of a refresh there. So let's see if this will let me, oh, okay. If this will, no? You're not going to let me actually select it? Okay, that's interesting. Let's, I don't understand the point. Okay, let's just try this F12 again. Or just let it boot up and press the enter to do the startup, because apparently it showed ThinkPad, now it shows the Lenovo logo, which I guess makes sense because it's in UEFI mode now, so let's, is it going to boot up? We have slightly, okay, there we go. Now let's do, oh, come on. What, it's plugged in, why? USB 3 support is on. I don't understand this. Escape. You know what? We're just going to shut this down. Okay. Enter to interrupt normal startup. Come on. Can we get this? Just go. Okay, press enter to pause. Let's see. Press F12 to choose a temporary startup device, which we'll do. And we'll select the SanDisk Cruiser Glide. Why aren't you selecting it like you're supposed to? Enter and select. Tab. So, yeah, let's just do it. Does it not like that port? Maybe if I plug it into this one. Maybe now. Come on. Why? Why? Oh, why is this being so difficult? Hello? Whoa. Really? This is ridiculous. What is going on here? What? I guess we'll pause this for a sec and see if we can make any progress. Okay, we made some progress, but the problem is that I I know for a fact that this Windows 8 install that I'm using supports UEFI. Like they all do. When I have this machine in UEFI mode, I can't seem to get it to recognize the drive for whatever reason. So I'm booting it legacy mode. I believe there's a way after install to change it to UEFI mode. So we're just going to have to do this in legacy mode and just hope that I can switch it over later without messing anything up. So, but yeah. So we will see if, or maybe it's also entirely possible that I just messed up this ISO entirely. So that is also an option. Yeah, so we still have, what am I doing here? So it looks like we have disk 1 and disk 0 unallocated space. Well, obviously I don't want to install to a 20 gig partition. That seems strange. I mean, technically I could rip this SSD out and just have this little mini SSD that's built in. Is this even built in? I'm not really sure what the deal with that is, yeah. Well, we'll put it on the 120 gig for now, which appears to be completely fresh. So now we're installing. 27 minutes in. Jesus. Ugh. Alright, so it installed. Now it's getting devices ready. Of course, again, going from a USB drive to an SSD. So even though this is last gen tech, it's not a USB 3 device to an NVMe, but it's still super quick. It is still getting devices ready and getting ready, which is going, thankfully, very quick. I guess this whole time I just had to boot it into legacy mode and just deal with the fact that I'll have to change it after the fact. So to say, so it's only got a few more steps to do before we land on the personalization screen. So all that is super good. Of course, we're not going to boot from USB again, but we'll let it do its thing. Is it gonna? I imagine it's good. It's gonna set up a few more things before we get to the personalized screen. Oh wow, nope, we're already there. All right. Well, that is that. So I'll go ahead and just leave the color for now because I can always change it later. My gut instinct says set it to red to match the ThinkPad aesthetic, which I suppose I could, but who knows. All right, and we're gonna go with this beautiful burgundy color to kind of match the red aesthetic of the ThinkPad. PC is too long. Why did you let me type in that many characters if it's too long? So I tried to sign in with my Microsoft account. It said something happened. Oops. Okay, I tried to point, and either way, it gave me an error message that said something happened and we can't use your Microsoft account. So we're going to have to sign in without a Microsoft account. Something happened and we couldn't set up your Microsoft account. You'll be able to change to a Microsoft account later in PC settings. I assume this is... I assume the Microsoft account integration on this is just completely broken. Which if I remember correctly, I think I tried to sign in with a Microsoft account on... Which is funny because on my main PC, my secondary partition is Windows 8, original Windows 8. But I already had set up a Microsoft account previously, so that still works, but trying to set it up again is, like fresh, on a fresh install is definitely not going to work. Maybe there's an update that I can get that'll fix it, but I doubt it. I assume that update would be Windows 8.1. It says swipe in from any edge, or move your mouse in any corner, just like they always do. Since this one supports a touchscreen and a mouse, it shows both tutorials. But that's it. It only shows you how to access the charms bar. It doesn't show you anything else. One of the many reasons why Windows 8 was a commercial failure. Disappointing, to say the least. I wonder how long it'll take. Oh, and as soon as I say that, it says, let's start. All right. Show us that start screen. Ooh, nice. Do we actually have drivers already? Not quite. A little choppy. But, yeah, very nice. Swipe up. Oh my goodness. Swipe up. All apps. Why can't... Okay. All apps. There we go. And then we can go back to start. Okay. And desktop. All right, that looks like a desktop. Now, I'm not sure if we have graphics drivers. We might, actually. This actually looks fairly good. I am still going to install Lenovo... What is it? Is it Lenovo Vantage, I think it's called? Where it'll help me sniff out all the rest of the drivers. But yeah, and of course this is Windows 8, so you can actually close out of the desktop. Well, you can actually close... You can close... You can actually close... Wow, you can close out of the I wonder if there's like a touchscreen driver I need to get, because I swear the driver fully worked. This is... The touchscreen's behaving very erratically. Which I don't remember doing this in the Windows 10 install, so I'm hoping this is just software and not hardware. If it's hardware, then I just wasted a bunch of time and I'm going to take this laptop back anyways. Because if I can't touch the screen properly, what's the point of this? So, swipe up. That's calendar. The Internet Explorer, which I didn't even open. Okay, well we got a Windows button right there to take us back to the start screen. Nice little Windows button right there. And of course we have the Windows key as well, which of course Windows key D gets you to the desktop. Windows key D gets you to the desktop again. Windows key C opens up the charms. And of course Alt F4, which of course for some reason it's set up on this machine where you have to do Alt Function F4. You can also do it right there to shut down. So, quite interesting. I'll have to install some drivers just to get this to not be stupid in terms of its behavior. Yeah, so I can tell it did activate just fine using the key that's built into the BIOS, which is good, because obviously if it wasn't, all these personalization items would be shut off. So... And of course, we have to install some updates, which we have to go through the control panel and install a couple Windows Update applets to allow us to get all the updates, which, of course, for Windows 8 RTM, only existed up until, I want to say November of 2016, I think is when we stopped getting updates for Windows 8, or was it? Or no, it was January 2016, I believe. It was very early in the life cycle. So, Windows 8 was only officially supported for, what is that, 2012, 2013, 14, 15. So only 3 years. 3 years and a few months on top of that. So 3 years and change, you got support for Windows 8. Of course, we have the Bing applet, which I don't believe... For the longest time, you could still use this, but recently the search bar just disappeared, and now you can't use it. But for a while, you could still use this to do Bing searches, and it was actually quite nice. I actually quite enjoyed the Bing app on Windows 8. This was removed in Windows 8.1 as it was built into the search function. But I actually quite like this interface. The results were very pretty. I really enjoyed it. But it is now broken, so the only thing you can do is close out of it, which doesn't even work because this touchscreen is messed up for some reason. So I'm going to try to install a bunch of drivers and see if we can get any sort of resolution out of this. No pun intended. Apparently this thing supports all the way back to Windows XP? That seems kind of strange considering this machine came with Windows 8. I would think it would only support Windows 8. Maybe Windows 7. But it supports Windows Vista and XP. Holy crap, should I put Vista on here? Let's not do that. But yeah, I can't seem to get the drivers to install either. Well, they're supposed to be the ability to sniff it out manually, but it's It has with a little application, Lenovo System Update, but it doesn't appear to install. I've attempted to install it like 4 times, and it won't install. So yeah, I see the Lenovo Service Bridge at least, but nothing else. So yeah, but it is working at least. Touch is, well, maybe it's not working. Maybe. Like some sort of faulty touchscreen perhaps, or maybe I need some updates. Regardless, oh, and I just moved that icon, that's annoying. Put that back. Regardless, that's that. So anyways, this is Intellitech Mobile signing out with my Lenovo ThinkPad Twist. I was hoping this would be a more exciting video, but apparently not. Of course, the track point works just fine, as you'd expect. Best part of a ThinkPad, honestly. So we can use the track point to close out of the desktop, which is funny. Anyways, this is Intellitech Mobile signing out. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.